Good afternoon, beautiful people. Welcome to Bible in a Year with Lovie. We are on day 26. We're reading the Life Application Study Bible, 3rd edition, the New Living Translation. Today we are going to pick up on Exodus 14 and 15, and then we're going to flip over to Matthew chapter 17. So, with that said, if you guys are ready, let's dive right in. Exodus chapter 14. Then the Lord gave these instructions to Moses. Order the Israelites to turn back and camp by Pahahiroth. Whatever. Y'all know me trying to pronounce these words. It is what it is. Between Migdal and the sea. Camp there along the shore, across from Baal-Zephon. Then Pharaoh will think the Israelites are confused. They are trapped in the wilderness. And once again I will harden Pharaoh's heart, and he will chase after you. I have planned this in order to display my glory through Pharaoh and his whole army. After this, the Egyptians will know that I am the Lord. So the Israelites camped there as they were told. When the word reached the king of Egypt that the Israelites had fled, Pharaoh and his officials changed their minds. What have we done? Letting all those Israelite slaves get away. They asked. So Pharaoh harnessed his chariot and called up his troops. He took with him 600 of Egypt's best chariots, along with the rest of the chariots of Egypt, each with its commander. The Lord hardened the heart of Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, so he chased after the people of Israel, who had left with fists raised in defiance. The Egyptians chased after them with all the forces of Pharaoh's army, all his horses and chariots, his charioteers, and his troops. The Egyptians caught up with the people of Israel as they were camped beside the shore near Pahahiroth, across from Baal-Zephon. As Pharaoh approached, the people of Israel looked up and panicked when they saw the Egyptians overtaking them. They cried out to the Lord, and they said to Moses, "Why did you bring us out here to die in the wilderness? Weren't there enough graves for us in Egypt? What have you done to us? Why did you make us leave Egypt? Didn't we tell you this would happen while we were still in Egypt? We said, 'Leave us alone. Let us be slaves to the Egyptians. It's better to be a slave in Egypt than a corpse in the wilderness.'" But Moses told the people, "Don't be afraid. Just stand still and watch the Lord rescue you today. The Egyptians you see today will never be seen again. The Lord himself will fight for you. Just stay calm." Man, did y'all hear that? The Lord himself will fight for you. Just stay calm. Like when everything seems like it's falling apart, like everything's like, man, the stuff done hit the fan. When it just feels like everything's caving in on you, nothing is going the way it should. You don't know what you're going to do next. It says, the Lord himself will fight for you. Just stay calm. Don't panic. You have to trust that God's purpose is greater than your plans, and that God is going to take care of you during your trip into the wilderness. Whatever you're going through, if you're in the fire, you're in the storm, however you want to word it, whatever you're going through, you have to trust that God will fight for you and remain calm. Panic didn't ever help nobody. It causes calamity and chaos, and God don't dwell in chaos. So avoid that. Just stay calm. Just stay calm and know that the Lord is going to fight for you. Verse 15. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Why are you crying out to me? Tell the people to get moving. Pick up your staff and raise your hand over the sea. Divide the water so the Israelites can walk through the middle of the sea on dry ground." Excuse me, I'm sorry. "And I will harden the hearts of the Egyptians and they will charge in after the Israelites. My great glory will be displayed through Pharaoh and his troops, his chariots and his charioteers. When my glory is displayed through them, all Egypt will see my glory and know that I am the Lord. Then the angel of God, who had been leading the people of Israel, moved to the rear of the camp. The pillar of cloud also moved from the front and stood behind them. The cloud settled between the Egyptians and Israelite camps. As darkness fell, the cloud turned to fire, lighting up the night. But the Egyptians and Israelites did not approach each other all night. Then Moses raised his hand over the sea, and the Lord opened up a path through the water with a strong east wind. The wind blew all that night, turning the seabed into dry land. So the people of Israel walked through the middle of the sea on dry ground, with walls of water on each side. Man, could you imagine that? Like, that'd be one of the coolest things to ever witness. I'm sorry, I'm tired, y'all. But, anyways. Then Moses raised his hand over the... Oh, wait. I already read that part. See, that's how you know I'm tired. I'm trying to reread what we just read. We're on verse 23. Then the Egyptians, all of Pharaoh's horses, chariots, and charioteers, chased them into the middle of the sea. But just before dawn, the Lord looked down on the Egyptian army from the pillar of fire and cloud, and he threw their forces into total confusion. He twisted their chariot wheels, making their chariots difficult to drive. "Let's get out of here, away from these Israelites," the Egyptians shouted. "The Lord is fighting for them against Egypt." When all the Israelites had reached the other side, the Lord said to Moses, "Raise your hand over the sea again. Then the waters will rush back and cover the Egyptians and their chariots and charioteers." So as the sun began to rise, Moses raised his hand over the sea, and the water rushed back into its usual place. The Egyptians tried to escape, but the Lord swept them into the sea. Then the waters returned and covered all the chariots and charioteers. The entire army of Pharaoh, of all the Egyptians who had chased the Israelites into the sea, not a single one survived. But the people of Israel had walked through the middle of the sea on dry ground, as the water stood up like a wall on both sides. That is how the Lord rescued Israel from the hand of the Egyptians. The land of the Egyptians that day. And the Israelites saw the bodies of the Egyptians washed up on the seashore. When the people of Israel saw the mighty power that the Lord had unleashed against the Egyptians, they were filled with awe before him. They put their faith in the Lord and in his servant Moses. Chapter 15. Then Moses and the people of Israel sang this song to the Lord. "I will sing to the Lord, for he has triumphed gloriously. He has hurled both horse and rider into the sea. The Lord is my strength and my song. He's given me victory. This is my God, and I will praise him. My father's God, and I will exalt him. The Lord is a warrior. Yahweh is his name. Pharaoh's chariots and army he has hurled into the sea. The finest of Pharaoh's officers are drowned in the Red Sea. The deep waters gushed over them. They sank to the bottom like a stone. Your right hand, O Lord, is glorious in power. Your right hand, O Lord, smashes the enemy. In the greatness of your majesty, you overthrow those who rise against you. You unleash your blazing fury. It consumes them like straw. At the blast of your breath, the waters piled up. The surging waters stood straight like a wall. In the heart of the sea, the deep waters became hard. The enemy boasted, "I will chase them and catch up with them. I will plunder them and consume them." Goodness. "I will flash my sword, but my powerful hand will destroy them." But you blew with your breath, and the sea covered them. They sank like lead in the mighty waters. Who is like you among the gods, O Lord? Glorious in holiness, awesome in splendor, performing great wonders. You raised your right hand, and the earth swallowed our enemies. With your unfailing love, you led the people you have redeemed in your might. You guide them to your sacred home. The peoples hear and tremble. Anguish grips those who live in Philistia. The leaders of Edom are terrified. The nobles of Moab tremble. All who live in Canaan melt away. Terror and dread fall upon them. The power of your arm makes them lifeless as stone. Until your people pass by, O Lord, until the people you purchased passed by. You will bring them in and plant them on your own mountain. The place, O Lord, reserved for your own dwelling. The sanctuary, O Lord, that your hands have established. The Lord will reign forever and ever. And that's a fact. The Lord will reign forever and ever. The sooner you accept that God is in control, the better. Because He will reign through all eternity, regardless of whether you accept that or not. I mean, it's a fact. So, yeah. When Pharaoh's horses and chariots and charioteers rushed into the sea, the Lord brought the water crashing down on them. But the people of Israel had walked through the middle of the sea on dry ground. Then Miriam, the prophet, Aaron's sister, took a tambourine and led all the women as they played their tambourines and danced. And Miriam sang this song. Sing to the Lord, for He has triumphed gloriously. He has hurled both horse and rider into the sea. Now, I just want to ask y'all a question real quick. What's your Red Sea? What are you standing in front of, waiting for God to clear a path for you? Have you put your faith in God that He will clear that path? Have you actually truly surrendered that situation to God? Are you trusting Him to part your Red Sea? Because we all have something like that. We all have some kind of something going on. Like we have our own individual real life Red Sea. Like, God, I'm standing at the edge of the shore. I need you to show me what I'm supposed to do from here. Lord, I need you to make a way because there's no other way. And our God is able. He's able to make a way when there ain't no other way. See, the Israelites, had God not parted the Red Sea, they would have been wiped out by Pharaoh and his army. But God said, not today. Y'all got me messed up. Let me show y'all my glory and my power. And He parted the Red Sea for them to walk through on dry ground, yo. If He can do it for them, He can do it for us. If He can do it for the Israelites, He can do it for you. There's nothing too big that our God can't handle. So I encourage you to take that shore that you're standing in front of, that issue that you're dealing with, and give it to God and ask Him to fix it. Ask Him to make a way for you, because He will. Verse 22. Then Moses led the people of Israel away from the Red Sea, and they moved out into the desert of Shur. They traveled in this desert for 3 days without finding any water. When they came to the oasis of Marah, the water was too bitter to drink, so they called the place Marah, which means bitter. Then the people complained and turned to Moses. What are we going to drink? They demanded. So Moses cried out to the Lord for help, and the Lord showed him a piece of wood. Moses threw it into the water, and this made the water good to drink. It was there at Marah. Goodness. I'm so sorry, y'all. It was there at Marah that the Lord set before them the following decree as a standard to test their faithfulness to Him. He said, if you will listen carefully to the voice of the Lord your God and do what is right in His sight, obeying His commands and keeping all His decrees, then I will not make you suffer any of the diseases I sent on the Egyptians, for I am the Lord who heals you. He said, for I am the Lord who heals you. After leaving Marah, the Israelites traveled on to the oasis of Elim. where they found 12 springs and 70 palm trees. They camped there beside the water. That's all in Exodus today. Come on now. So we'll pick back up tomorrow on Exodus 16. That's all in Exodus today. We're going to flip over to Matthew chapter 17 and get her done. Alright. Matthew chapter 17. If y'all are ready, here we go. 6 days later, Jesus took Peter and the two brothers, James and John, and led them up a high mountain to be alone. As the men watched, Jesus' appearance was transformed so that his face shone like the sun, and his clothes became as white as light. Suddenly, Moses and Elijah appeared and began talking with Jesus. Peter exclaimed, "Lord, it's wonderful for us to be here. If you want, I'll make 3 shelters as memorials, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah." But even as he spoke, a bright cloud overshadowed them, and a voice from the cloud said, "This is my dearly loved son, who brings me great joy. Listen to him." The disciples were terrified and fell face down on the ground. I would be too. I'm just saying, let a big, giant pillar of cloud start speaking to me. And yeah, I'm going to hit my face. Like, there's no other way to describe it. Then Jesus came over. I'm so sorry, y'all. I don't know why I'm so tired. Then Jesus came over and touched them. "Get up," he said. "Don't be afraid." And when they looked up, Moses and Elijah were gone, and they only saw Jesus. As they went back down the mountain, Jesus commanded them, "Don't tell anyone what you've seen until the Son of Man has been raised from the dead." Then his disciples asked him, "Why do the teachers of religious law insist that Elijah must return before the Messiah comes?" Jesus replied, "Elijah is indeed coming first to get everything ready. But I tell you, Elijah has already come, but he wasn't recognized, and they chose to abuse him. And in the same way, they will also make the Son of Man suffer." Then the disciples realized he was talking about John the Baptist. See, Elijah came as John the Baptist, which was that's a crazy story, what happened to him. But at the foot of the mountain, a large crowd was waiting for them. A man came and knelt before Jesus and said, "Lord, have mercy on my son. He has seizures and suffers terribly. He often falls into the fire or into the water. So I brought him to your disciples, but they could not heal him." Jesus said, "You faithless and corrupt people, how long must I be with you? How long must I put up with you? Bring the boy here to me." Then Jesus rebuked the demon in the boy, and it left him. From that moment on, the boy was well. Afterward, the disciples asked Jesus privately, "Why couldn't we cast out that demon?" "You don't have enough faith," Jesus told them. "I tell you the truth. If you had faith even as small as a mustard seed." I want y'all to, wait, that's the wrong one. I want y'all to see a mustard seed. You see those tiny little seeds right there? Those are mustard seeds. That's mustard seeds. That's pretty small. So he said, I'm sorry, like my nose is running and everything. He said, "I tell you the truth, if you even had faith, even as small as a mustard seed, you could say to this mountain, 'Move from here to there,' and it would move." Nothing would be impossible. Nothing would be impossible if only you had faith the size of a mustard seed. Man. After they gathered again in Galilee, Jesus told them, "The Son of Man is going to be betrayed into the hands of his enemies. He will be killed. But on the third day, he will be raised from the dead. And the disciples were filled with grief. On their arrival in Capernaum, the collectors of the temple tax came to Peter and asked him, "Doesn't your teacher pay the temple tax?" "Yes, he does," Peter replied. Then he went into the house. But before he had a chance to speak, Jesus asked him, "What do you think, Peter? Do kings tax their own people or the people they have conquered?" "They tax the people they've conquered," Peter replied. "Well then," Jesus said, "the citizens are free. However, we don't want to offend them. So go down to the lake and throw in a line. Open the mouth of the first fish you catch, and you will find a large silver coin. Take it and pay the tax for both of us." Ain't that something? There Jesus goes, paying debts that ain't his. Always looking out for his boys. Listen, I just want y'all to know that, like, the Bible is such an interesting and amazing journey, and we are just getting into it. There's so much to come, and I can't wait to share some of these stories with y'all. I love the red letters when Jesus is speaking. But I love the history and the stories that we're reading in the Old Testament. So remember that whatever your Red Sea is, God is capable and more than willing to part it. But what are you willing to sacrifice for him to part your Red Sea? And how much faith do you have that he'll actually do it? Remember that if you want to see a change, you have to be the change. And if it ain't a God thing, then it ain't a good thing. So with all that said, today was quick and it was pretty good, I think. And I hope you guys have a wonderful, blessed rest of the day. And remember, love like Jesus.